My name is Joanna. This is part 3 to my story. I'm going to be talking about domestic violence. So, trigger warning, there will be talk about abuse, mental, emotional, physical abuse. There will be talk about drug use. The reason that I have decided to come out now and share my story is because as a survivor, it is really hard to as you heal, you grow stronger, and I feel like now I have the strength to come out publicly and speak about my experience. I feel like for too long, my fear of what my abuser might say or do, how they might retaliate, kind of kept me from wanting to talk about it. So now I am putting that fear aside because I know my intention in sharing my story. It's not about shaming my abuser. It's not about exposing them, but it's to bring light to domestic violence. It's a real thing. It affects more people than you know. And it needs to be talked about. I am safe. Somebody asked in my last video if they could assume that I was safe, and yes, I am out of that unhealthy, abusive relationship. I am in the healthiest relationship I've ever been in my life. I am happy. I have a beautiful family. And yeah, so I'm okay, thank God. So in part 3 today, there are a few topics that I want to touch on. Specifically, it's going to be gaslighting, isolation, and financial abuse, and also reactive abuse. So the stories that I'm going to talk about today will have to do with those specific types of abuse. Let's just get into it because it's not easy. It's like ripping the band-aid off, and that's what we're gonna do. So to kind of set the scene, it was me, my abuser, 2 of my girl cousins with their boyfriends. They were sisters, they're siblings, and we were at one of their apartments. And we're just kind of hanging out, you know, young couples just hanging out. And I don't know how the conversation got started, but my younger cousin, she was like, hey, did you know that you can see whose pictures he likes on Instagram? And I was like, really? And we were just like, the atmosphere was just kind of light. It wasn't like we were fighting, but when she told me that, I was like, let me see your phone, to my abuser. And I got his phone. Like, he didn't fight me about it. I got his phone, but he did get really upset when I started going through it. And I found all these likes and comments on not just like, you know, Instagram models pages. It was on one specific girl's page. And I know, like, this is a huge debate among couples. Like, is it disrespectful if your significant other is liking other people's pictures, you know? I think it depends on the picture. If it's like a very provocative picture and it's like showing some, you know, it's real sexy, it's revealing, I feel like that is disrespectful. If you're in a relationship, if you're in a committed relationship and you're liking pictures like that, or you're commenting inappropriate comments like that on those photos, I think that's disrespectful, in my opinion. That's, you know, to each their own. But when I saw that he was commenting it on one specific girl's, and he was just like, it was very consistent, I got upset and I was like, what is this? And I, you know, brought it to his attention, and he got so pissed off and completely just like turned it all around on me and how I was in the wrong for going through his phone. And I don't agree with, you know, going through your partner's phone without their approval. Like, first of all, there should be enough trust that you don't have to go through your partner's phone. Second of all, like, if there is that trust, then your partner shouldn't have a problem with you going through their phone or having their phone. I don't think it should be an issue. But that happened, and he was pissed, and he made it seem like I was in the wrong and I was the bad person, and we got into this explosive fight, and he started walking home. And that's a perfect example of gaslighting. Like, the whole fight started because of something that he had done wrong that was disrespectful to our relationship, but in the end, I was the bad person. And I followed him home. I was driving and I kept telling him to get in the car, and he wouldn't get in the car. And that's how the fight, like, he ended up going home. I think he went home, or he ended up going home getting picked up by one of his friends. I don't remember. But it just, like, I ended up feeling bad for it. Classic gaslighting. Another example was we're new in our rental. It was a 2-bedroom home, and my younger brother, was needing somewhere to stay. He was looking for apartments, looking for somewhere to live, and I had an extra room, so I want to say that I brought it up to him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea." And I said, "Okay, well, let me talk to my abuser and see what he says, just so we can get it, we're on the same page." Thinking that my abuser was going to be okay with it, because why not? He's my family. Like, there shouldn't be an issue with it. But my abuser was so calculated in his abuse and his tactics that he convinced me that it was not a good idea to have my brother living with us, because it was our first home. We were getting used to living together, and we needed to be comfortable together. We needed to be alone in this space, and it wasn't a good idea to have my brother living there. That's isolation. He was isolating me from my family so that he could treat me the way that he wanted to without any witnesses. And I regret it so bad, because I could have helped my brother, and I could have avoided so much, because I know my abuser would not have shown his true colors had my brother been there. Now, we were in this same little house, still kind of fresh into the relationship, and at this point, he did not have a personal vehicle. The truck that he was driving got taken away from him when he got arrested for the cocaine possession that I mentioned in the previous stories. It was a truck that his old boss was letting him use, and when he got in trouble, when he went to jail, his boss took it from him. So he no longer had a personal truck, he only had a work truck. I, however, had my baby, my pride and joy. I had bought myself a 4-door Jeep Wrangler, a red one, soft top. That was my baby. I loved it. And my abuser convinced me to trade it in for a car for us. And I was so hesitant. We were at the dealership and we were looking for a vehicle for us. And I was so hesitant. And I kept telling him, if you can't get it on your own, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. I was scared. And he was like, why? And I said, well, what if, because I had already tried to leave. Our relationship was not stable. And I would tell him that, I'm scared that you're going to do something. It's going to ruin our relationship. I'm going to be stuck with a car payment that I can't afford. Right now, I can afford my car payment. I'm happy with it. And he was like, you don't have faith in me. And I feel like that's another example of gaslighting. He was like, you don't have faith in me. You don't think that our relationship's going to last. You don't feel like I'm going to change. You don't believe me. You don't believe in me. And it got to me. And I was like, okay. And he's like, do you not love me? I thought this was love. And he convinced me to trade in my beautiful little Jeep for a truck of his choosing, with a payment that was double what I was paying. And eventually when our relationship died out, I got stuck with that. That is an example of financial abuse. They manipulate you to the point of where they are controlling your finances. That's financial abuse. Okay, so now we're getting to the point of where our relationship, it's just this toxic cycle. Every so often we're fighting, but I'm forgiving him. He's begging for forgiveness. I forgive him. We're okay for a few little while. Then we fight. It's explosive. It's toxic, unhealthy, sad, heartbreaking. And then we get to a good point. It's just this cycle. And we had already been doing that for maybe a year. And he proposed. It was a surprise to me. I mean, when you're in a committed relationship, I think every girl is like excited to get proposed to. So I was excited. I was happy. We were in one of those times where it was okay. We had not hit that part of the cycle where we're fighting. So at that time that he proposed, it was like, I was happy. But maybe a month into our engagement, I had a doctor's appointment. I had to go and see my gynecologist. My doctor was out of town, and my abuser told me he didn't want me to go to my appointment. He didn't want me to drive that night. Well, my appointment was the next day at 11. I wasn't gonna take off. It was 5 hours. It was a 5-hour drive. I wasn't gonna take off that morning. So I wanted to take off that night. And he told me, if you leave me my ring. He took my ring. He took my engagement ring from me that night because I left to go to my doctor's appointment that I needed to go to the next day. And at that appointment, I found out I was pregnant. So many emotions were running through me. First, it was just disbelief because I had been told that I couldn't get pregnant. And then it was like shock. My abuser literally just took my ring away from me. So were we even together? And then it was like this denial, like, oh, it's gonna be okay. He's gonna make such a great dad. And that's where my emotions were all over the place because my family, my mom was with me, and she was there when the doctor told me that I was pregnant. So she was so excited. So I think that's what kind of played into my excitement was I have a reason to be excited because my family's excited. And so I tried to convince myself that my abuser would be happy too. And so me and my mom planned this whole reveal, surprise for my abuser. We were gonna surprise him with this announcement. And when we did, we had little shirts made. And so when we did surprise him, he it was not the reaction I expected. He was not happy. And after all was said and done, on our way home, we were by ourselves again. He told me he was upset that I surprised him. He told me that I should have called him first, that he should have been the first one to find out. He was not understanding of the situation. He knew my mom was there. He knew what happened. My mom was literally in the doctor's office with me when they told me that I was pregnant. So it wasn't possible for him to find out first before her. But he was upset that he did not know right off the bat, even though he didn't want me to go to the appointment in the first place. That didn't dawn on him. You didn't want me to go in the first place, but you wanted to be the first to know. So it was really hard to be excited about the pregnancy. It was very stressful. The abuse only got worse after that. You would think that he had a reason to better himself and become just a better person before this new life arrived, and it just got worse. And our relationship just grew more and more volatile. Now, I'm going to share an example of reactive abuse. One night we were out with his friends. I was pregnant, and he got really drunk. And this, like, we'd go out, and before we'd go out, I'd tell him, okay, no more than so many beers, no more than so many shots. We'd have the conversation because I had anxiety about him getting drunk, because I knew how he would get when he would get drunk. And he would tell me, I promise, no more than this, you know, like no more than 2 beers, no more than a shot. Like, okay. We went out this night, and he's taking shots, drinking all this, you know, just downing whatever is being given to him and ordering an excess. And I am just so uncomfortable because we're with his friends, and I know I probably look upset, and everybody's probably judging me like, oh, but I was upset. And we get ready to leave. The roads are icy. We're in his work truck, and he's drunk. And I cannot drive his work truck because it's so big. But I told him, I'm driving your truck. You're not gonna drive. He was pissed. So I get in the truck, and he is just talking shit in my ear the whole time before I had even taken off. I'm like, you know what? Fuck this, you drive. It was just reactive abuse. That was my reaction. So I jump in the back seat because I didn't even want to sit in the front with him, and he's driving, and he passes a stop sign. And let me tell you, if you've ever been in this situation, you know that it takes a lot for you to get to this point, but it's been building and building and building until you react. And then you're the crazy one. You're the abusive one. Because at this point, when he ran that stop sign, all that could go through my head was that he was driving drunk on an icy road, running stop signs in his work truck, and I was pregnant. I went off. I reacted. And I reacted in a very regretful manner. One that I'm ashamed of. And one that I don't have an excuse for, other than it was a reaction. And I started hitting him to pull over because he wouldn't. When I first started shouting for him to pull over, he would not pull over. After he ran that stop sign, I told him, pull over, pull over, pull over. He would not pull over. I started screaming, pull over. He would not pull over. And I started hitting him, trying to get him to stop driving. And he would not stop. And when he would not stop, I gave up. When we got home, as soon as we got home, he was punching our doors. He punched holes in our guest bedroom door, holes in the walls, in our main bedroom door. And he called his mom and told her that I hit him. And I felt like shit because I could not believe what I just did. And I told him, I said, you know what? This is not a relationship that I don't want to bring a child into this. Like, this is not the person that I am. Like, if you want to leave, leave. And so we slept in separate rooms at night. And that's when I was just kind of like, we can't do this. Like, I'm pregnant. This is the kind of environment we're going to be bringing a baby into. You would think that that was my aha moment. But when he didn't leave, I don't know what happened. We just moved on. I never hit him again after that. But seeing him make those holes in the wall and break our doors, it scared me. Another situation when I was pregnant. I was about 3 or 4 months pregnant, and he had a friend that was celebrating his birthday at a bar downtown, and he wanted us to go. So me and my abuser went, go to this bar, and I felt so uncomfortable because I'm pregnant. I shouldn't be at a bar in the first place. And I should be home resting. I was exhausted. But we get there, and maybe 20 minutes in, my abuser goes to the bathroom. And 5 minutes pass. He's not back yet. I'm like, well, maybe he's pooping. I don't know. 10 minutes pass. He's not back yet. 20 minutes. 30. An hour. I don't know where he's at. His phone is there. So I go look in the bathroom. I go ask somebody to call him, see if he's in the bathroom. Another man to go into the bathroom. I'm asking his friends. Nobody knows where he's at. I go outside where our truck was parked. It's gone. So I'm like, he left. He left his phone here. There's no way for me to get a hold of him. He left me at a bar, pregnant. So I'm just like, I don't know. Then finally somebody tells me he left to go buy drugs. Somebody that was there, that saw him leave, that knew what he was going to do, told me. I was crushed. He left me at a bar pregnant so that he could go buy drugs. I called my brother. My brother went and picked me up. I stayed the night with him. And that night, I'm going through my abuser's phone, and I see messages between him and some girl. And she's sending him selfies with her cleavage out and telling him goodnight and calling him pet names. Like, it was just inappropriate for somebody that's in a relationship, somebody that's engaged, whose spouse is pregnant. It just, I don't know. I messaged her pretending to be him to see exactly what the dynamic of the relationship was. And when I told her that I was his pregnant fiance, she called me insecure. But the next day, my brother takes me to my house where my abuser is at so that I can pack everything up and get ready to leave. And he is cold. My abuser is cold. Does not give a shit that I'm leaving. Does not acknowledge that he has done wrong. Does not acknowledge that he is about to lose his family. Does not give a shit. I'm pretty sure he's probably high. And he's just talking shit the whole time that we're there. And my brother's having to stand in between him and I because I'm terrified. And he is just like fired up on, like, what? Like, why? Why are you the one that's pissed off? And that's when I left. I left him and we were separated for about 4 or 5 months. And yeah. I'll have to pick up on the story in the next part. First, they hit near you. I read that somewhere, and I know it resonates with somebody. First, they hit near you. If you care about the message that I am trying to share, guys, please, I don't usually ask this in my videos, but my hope is that this reaches the people that it needs to. And the only way that that's going to happen is if people are interacting with my channel. If you would please like my videos, subscribe to my channel, turn on your notifications so you can see every time that I post, and share my videos. Share them to whoever, to whatever platform you want, so that whoever needs to see them can see them. I would really, really appreciate it. You don't know whose life you could possibly save, not even to sound dramatic, but imagine somebody hearing this and saying, what the fuck, that sounds like my life. Like, I need to get out. Do not settle. Do not settle. Abuse does not discriminate. It doesn't discriminate against race, gender, sexual orientation, age, religion. It does not discriminate. Anybody can be a victim and anybody can be an abuser. So I just ask you to please, I am so happy for the people that have supported me so far. If you like my content, if you agree with my content and my mission, please interact with my page, like my video, subscribe, share. I would truly, truly appreciate it. I'm really grateful for you guys, and I am so grateful that I am free. See you guys in the next one. Bye.
Below, you'll find several domestic violence help programs linked, but if you or somebody that you know is in immediate danger, please contact the police.